You cannot change who you are unless you let go of who you think you are. And if you've asked the question, how do I actually change my life? Well, naturally, everybody asks that question. Each of us want to make some shifts in our lives in some way, shape, or form. So it is only natural to inquire, to want to find a solution to that. But we have never found the courage to ask the more important question, which is why I'm making this video. And I want to contemplate on that question and maybe find an answer for myself, and hopefully that might be useful for you. So the more important question, I believe, is what makes change hard? Why do we not persist with the changes we want to make in our life? And this is really curious because we can look at that problem from many different perspectives. But I believe the most important one we should look at is simply asking the question, who has made that decision to want to change a certain aspect of our lives? Who is that one? Because if we want to make a change and we are not persisting through it, then obviously we are not fully certain that we want to persist through that change. And this is what I meant by starting this video with this statement. You cannot change who you are unless you let go of who you think you are. So the real question again, who is the one wanting to make a shift in your life? Think of it this way. Since the time we were born, a lot of people have told us how we should behave, who we should be, what is expected of us, who do we need to become to be successful, to be fulfilled, to be happy, to have the freedom we want from our lives. Everybody has an idea of what that looks like, and everybody is willing to share that idea. And what tends to happen is that inevitably, through our own naivety and innocence, we become attached to somebody else's idea of the changes we need to make within to be living a successful, fulfilling, a life of freedom, a life of acknowledgement, a life of fame, whatever it is that we are looking for. So going back to this question, what stands in the way between us and the real, actual change we want to make? What do you think this is? I've come to realize that for everybody, including myself, this is the unconscious expectation of who we think we need to be so that we can feel successful, fulfilled, so on and so forth. Instead of finding that inspiration from within, finding what is truly authentic and real for each of us, what we tend to do, since we haven't really looked deep enough within our awareness of being, within who we know at the core of us we are, since we haven't really inquired deep enough, then we try to almost take ideas that don't really belong to us, give them meaning, become attached to them, and give them the permission to direct our lives for us. And so what happens, since those ideas don't really belong to us intrinsically, they're not naturally ours, when we want to really pursue them and persist through them, this authentic core of who we are starts fighting with what is expected from us. Do you follow me so far? Have you found something similar happening in your life? Because I believe this happens to everybody who experiences some form of awakening in their life, expanded awareness of who they are. And once we experience awakening, then we realize a lot of what we have pursued in our lives is not authentic. It doesn't belong naturally to us. It is the expectations of society, of our parents, of the authority figures we believe in. And please don't make me such. I don't want to be that authority figure here. My intention actually is to inspire you to look within, inquire deeper, and find by yourself what is the real actual change you want to experience in your life that comes from within, instead of me or somebody else telling you what that is. Because this, I believe, is the biggest blockage. And nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. Think of it for a moment. Why haven't you persisted through the change you want? Is that idea of change fully yours? Have you accepted it as yours? Is it coming from within, as almost like a genuine inspiration for who you want to be, who you want to become? How you view yourself in the ideal way. Not because somebody told you to look yourself at a certain way, but because you genuinely feel inspired. It's like, if you drop everything, if you drop all expectations, you don't need to be anything. You don't need to be anyone. Nothing is expected of you. What remains? I believe this is the real question we need to ask ourselves if we want to experience an actual change in our lives. We cannot be superficial. We cannot just attach and give meaning to what we have learned from somebody else if it doesn't come from our own internal, genuine inspiration that is always there when we let go of the concept of who we think we should be. If you find the courage to do that, and I understand, obviously, this is not easy. It takes deep self-inquiry, self-reflection, and a sincere attitude about what is real and authentic of my vision of who I want to be, and what is just a superficial expectation of who society and other significant people in my life want me to be. If we're not sincere enough to distinguish between those two, what's expected of me, what's the external expectations that other people have of me, and what do I find internally significant? What am I attracted to genuinely from the inside? Unless we distinguish between those two, I don't believe any actual change is possible. Because even if you conjure up enough dedication and commitment to persist through a change that somebody expects of you, an authority figure again, what your parents expect, what society expects of you, even if you persist through the pain of experiencing that change, at the end of it, you would reach something like an inner crisis, a crisis of values. And you might end up being disappointed because you won't be able to find the fulfillment you were looking for in the place where it didn't belong. Because just think of for a moment, everything that we really want from the change we want to experience in our life is internal, isn't it? What we really want is acknowledgement, fulfillment, the joy of being able to express our intrinsic interests, genuine interests. All of these are feelings that are internal to us. And if we follow through an expectation of who we need to become to be able to experience those feelings, inevitably we would be disappointed. Makes sense, doesn't it? So if we go back to that fundamental question I started the video with, how do you actually change your life? You won't be able to change your life unless you let go of the idea that there is something that needs to be changed right now. And if you find the courage to let go of that idea just for a moment, let me know what remains. Because what you will find out in that space that gets cleared is this genuine inspiration for the changes you want to make that will drive you from the inside out to make them. It will be internally driven. It will be self-sufficient. It will contain all the resources and all the plans of what you need to do specifically to make that change. And I've genuinely found all the changes that I've made within my life coming like that. It wasn't through forcing myself. That never worked out. And if you relate with that, please let me know, because I'm not absolutely certain of that, but I do believe that this happens to a lot of people. A lot of people who have experienced, and men specifically, who have experienced some form of awakening in their life, and they force themselves to pursue the right things they should do to experience a change in their life. It just doesn't work because it's not coming from that intrinsic internal inspiration that I'm talking about. So what do you think? Does that relate? And have you experienced this actual change that I'm talking about? Maybe in a previous chapter of your life, because obviously we are always changing. And the change we want to experience right now, we have experienced a similar change previously, but now we are just leveling up on another level. So this is what I believe is required for us to experience an actual change. To find that intrinsic motivation coming from within, which is authentic to us, genuine to us. It's not dependent on somebody, on something, on what somebody expects of us. If it is genuine, then we will always have the sufficient resources to pursue through it and experience the actual change we are looking for. This was my message for today, so please let me know how do you find it? Does it want for you? Do you have any insights from it? This is really important for me because partly I want to make this channel something like a conversation with the people who are watching it, with my viewers. So if you found that insightful, or if there are some thoughts coming in your mind, please let me know. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. See you around in the next video.